All right, we are live. Welcome.
Hi, folks. Mike Arsenault. Mike's always on time. Welcome to our live YouTube workshop. And, well, this is the longest we've gone, 3 weeks. We couldn't do it last week because of Frick.
Yes.
He had a wedding to do. But we're here tonight. Topic is planers and jointers. You ask, I'll try to answer. Jake's behind the camera. Frick is over there on the Frick cam. Megan is here. If you're a combat wounded vet that has been to one of our classes as our guest, please...
Kill it.
What?
It's right there.
Please say something to Megan so that she can alert me so I can give you a shout out. We always love to recognize you guys. Moose is here with us tonight. And he brought along some dead cats and some golf shirts we'll be giving away tonight. So this is our, just tell you real quick, I'll remind you again, this is our main primary fundraiser for Purple Heart Project. So the good news is, and if you don't know what the Purple Heart Project, if you're tuning in for the first time, in normal times, 6 times a year, we bring in 7 combat wounded vets from all over the world. We bring them in and we treat them to a very intense 6-day hand-tool workshop. When I say intense, I mean land here at 7 in the morning, and we're here until 11 o'clock at night for 6 days. And not only do we feed you breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but you learn to sharpen freehand, chisels, planes, even saws. You learn to process lumber with a hand plane so that it's flat, smooth, and square on all 6 sides. You learn to cut dovetails, both through dovetails and half-blind dovetails. You learn to cut mortise and tenon joints. And we'll build a little box from lumber that you've processed. And I say processed, meaning it's rough, it's been cut down with a chainsaw, it's been milled, it's been dried, and then you take over from there. Very rewarding, very satisfying. And we cover all their expenses, airfare, hotel, meals. We send each vet home with somewhere between $3,500 and $4,000 worth of tools. And thanks to Jack Lane down in Texas and Chris Chahusky, we also provide you with one of our workbenches that was built by someone on the Bench Brigade. The Bench Brigade is a group of volunteers spearheaded by Jack and assisted by Chris. And that volunteer civilian procures all the materials. We provide them with the vise and the bench dogs. They build the bench to our specs. I got a great shout out to give to a woodworking club in Moncton, New Brunswick. Remind me to do that tonight, Jake. They build the bench, and then Jack organizes it so that they can deliver it to a vet that's coming to our class or has been to our class that is closest proximity. And it's an awesome program. The response has been phenomenal. We probably have 3 times more volunteers than we... Frick, you going to be okay over there?
I'm just trying to eat.
I think we have 3 or 4 times more volunteers than we initially set out to have. So, that said, it's an expensive venture, but it doesn't matter. We would do it regardless. And this is a fundraiser, but you have to understand something. I caught on to this shortly after we started. We were paying for it ourselves. And I had no qualms with that at all. I found my calling in life, helping these people navigate through the effects of being in a combat zone. And I just happen to have a skill and a talent for woodworking, and I'm able to share it, and to be able to help these people is priceless. But I also realized that other people want to participate as well. Well, if you live on the other side of the continent or the other side of the world, the only way you can really help, with the exception of spreading the word about what we're doing so we can find these people, is to help monetarily, whether it's donating that covers part of somebody's airfare, somebody's tools, whatever. So we allow you to participate like that. And I've got a special request tonight that I'll get to in a moment. So as you donate tonight, and you do it through our website so that there's no fees extracted like there are through numerous other organizations. We set it up ourselves for that very reason. As you donate tonight, and as the number of donations increases at every $1,000 increment, thanks to Santa and Mrs. Claus, we give you, we draw for a nice gift. So tonight we have a router plane to give away. We have a block plane to give away, which are hard to come by these days. I picked out a couple of saws, bench crosscut, and 2 bench crosscut saws, and a marking gauge. Pardon? Oh yeah, and we have 2 mallets. These are resin impregnated cherry mallets, turned by Harold, I think. So lots of stuff. Build that jackpot and we'll just keep giving away. And don't forget your maple syrup supplies. If you buy anything from us and your order is big enough that it goes in a box, for a number of years now we've been sending out little containers of dark maple syrup that's produced locally. And people really liked it, so they started asking. So we now have the 500 mil, the 250 mil. That would do 1 pancake for you, Moose? 1.5. 1.5. And of course, maple butter, and Jake will tell you all about maple butter at some point. Question? Megan, you look like you're about to say something.
Philip Lawrence is on.
Philip Lawrence. Hello, Philip. How are you, brother? Good to have you.
So is Ebby, and he says happy birthday.
Hi, Ebby. Thank you. Bring up the birthday thing.
And Bill Hewitt.
Bill Hewitt is on?
Am I supposed to remind you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill is a recently retired, I think 32 years. Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but Bill's from Newfoundland. And if you're from Newfoundland, you can travel as far as you want, but we always can tell as soon as you open your mouth. Bill lives in Northern Ontario, and he just recently was medically retired. And I had a chat with him this week, and I just wanted to give him a special shout out, tell him how much we appreciate the service, along with all the other vets. There's a couple things I want to do, but I want to kind of intersperse it with some questions. Frick, you got one for me?
Yeah, sure. I got one from Ensenada, Mexico.
Ensenada is his name?
No, that's the city. His name is Bud Robinson.
Hey, Bud.
And he says, if you could buy only one, which would it be, a planer or a joiner?
Oh, wow. I would probably buy a jointer. And it really is a 51-49 split, and I'll explain. So I brought in some examples. So this is an 8-inch General jointer, which General was a company that operated out of Drummondville, Quebec. They're no longer in business. They started in 1946, I believe, and lasted until about 2015, somewhere around there. They made equipment primarily to go into school wood shops, which meant it had to be simple to operate, it had to be rugged, and it had to be easy to repair. And the designs essentially did not change from the time they started till the time they closed their doors. And I collect it anywhere I can, and most of my shop is all General. Anyway, so that's an 8-inch jointer, means it has the capacity, if you move the fence over, it has the capacity to joint 8 inches wide. Over here I've got a thickness planer. This is made by Delta, and this is back when Delta was making them in Brazil, so it's still a good machine. That has the capacity to plane. Is it 14, Jake, or 15?
I thought it was a 15.
No, it's actually 13. 13 inches. Now, here's the difference. This one will make one side of a board flat. This one will merely cause one side of a board to be parallel to the other side of the board. So if you put a board that is cupped, meaning it's bent like that, through this, the pressure rolls, which is what keeps it laying flat on the table, will flatten out that cup like this. The top will be made parallel to the bottom, but as soon as it comes out the other end, it'll pop right back to being like that. So the top will still be parallel to the bottom, but it's not going to be a flat board. This, by the way, is a Makita, and this is a jointer planer combination, so this would be the answer to your question. This, on one side, has a 6-inch jointer, and on the other side has a 12-inch planer. It runs off the same shaft, same motor. So that would probably be your ideal setup. But my reasoning for buying a jointer first, this is the 51%, is that I think it's more versatile. You can joint an edge, you can flatten the bottom. If you had to, you could even possibly do the other side. But with that, you really are restricted to thicknessing, and like I said, if you don't have a flat reference surface, that's almost useless. If you've ever tried to build something with lumber that wasn't flat, smooth, and square on all 6 sides, it's a nightmare from the beginning to the end. And every time you do something, the error just keeps getting compounded. So I would start with a jointer, and then I'd start saving my pennies, and I'd get a planer, because they're, like I said, 51, 49%. I wanted to... How many people do we have on, Frick?
564.
Okay, I'll wait until we have a few more. Next question.
Jake Roll's on.
Hey, Jake.
He says Hardness.
Jake Tarola. Jake is combat wounded, and Jake was a forward observer. So that means that he would be scouting out ahead, and he would be calling in artillery strikes on enemy positions. And I once asked him, I said, how close would you dare call in a strike? And he said, it depends on who's firing. That made perfect sense. But super guy, 7 children, lives in Michigan, plays the guitar. In fact, I'm sorry, not Michigan. Minnesota, it's cold. So the guitar that the East Tennessee Luthers Guild made and donated to us, we raised the money and we sent that to Jake, so he owes us a tune or two. Good to have you, Jake. Anybody else, Megan? Frank, another question?
Yep. I have a question from Stephen Linick in Bath, Ohio.
Stefan?
Yeah. He says, what is your recommended way to change jointer knives and maintain infeed, outfeed bed alignment?
What is my recommended way to change jointer knives? And say that again, please.
What is your recommended way to change jointer knives and maintain infeed, outfeed bed alignment?
Okay, so your bed alignment shouldn't change. So let me explain. You don't ever really want to buy a jointer that doesn't have an adjustable infeed and outfeed. Obviously, you have to have an adjustable infeed. So in case you're not familiar, if you're running a board, you come from this side first. So this is your infeed table. That's your outfeed table. This is your cutter head. And the top of the cutting circle, so this is a round piece of steel that has 3 knives in it that are sticking up. And it should be set up so that the top of the cutting circle, in other words, the top of the knife right there, should be parallel to the outfeed table. So you have to be able to make this adjustment to suit that. Once you're done, you don't touch it. All of your adjustment happens over here. If you want to cut more material off, you're going to lower this table. Whatever you lower this table by, when it passes over the cutter head, what's removed gets taken up by the outfeed table so that your board doesn't tip or rock. So when you're changing knives, that doesn't have any impact on these 2 tables. But when you do change a knife, if it's a straight knife, I'm just going to show you an example of something that's new, and I would highly recommend it if you're thinking of upgrading your jointer. This is called a segmented head. So you end up taking the entire head, which actually is very easy to do, out of your machine. Bird is the company that I would promote, BYRD. They make this replacement cutter head, and instead of usually three straight knives, they have several chiclets. And that little piece of steel is a piece of carbide. It has 4 sharp edges, and when you tighten that screw, it indexes it into position. And it's on a helical pattern, so it's not a straight knife. And as a result of this, if you happen to nick one of these, you can simply loosen that screw, turn the cutter head, that's why they're numbered, tighten it up again, and now you're back in business. Now normally, if you nick right here, it's going to affect, 3 blades, so you'd have to do that on all of them, but that's so much easier than changing out your knives.
And it cuts down on noise.
Yes, it does. Substantially cuts down on noise.
Somebody in the chat was asking what they can do to reduce the noise on their planer and jointer.
Oh, go to a segmented cutter head.
I'll read. I can read that whole question if you want.
No.
Well, wait a minute. Let me finish this one first.
Okay.
But please bring me back to that. So if you're going to use a straight knife, you take them out to sharpen them. I mean, you can hone them in place and get maybe 2 or 3, maybe even 4 honings before you have to actually take the knife out and have it sharpened. But when you do put it back in place, you have to make sure that each knife is projecting out of the head the same amount, so that all 3 knives are parallel to this outfeed table, and that they're sticking up the same amount, so that you don't have one knife taking off more material than the other. And you can tell if your knives aren't right, because you'll run a board over the plane, over the jointer, and you'll see on a repeat pattern, you'll see one scallop a little bit deeper than the others, and then you know it's messed up, and you got to go back to the drawing board. But there's lots of ways of putting these knives back in place. The best one I've ever seen is when you take a straight piece of wood with a straight edge, put a mark on it, 2 marks, put a mark where it's, let me do it. This is important enough that it's worth doing. So I'm going to take this piece of wood. I'll go over to my jointer that's operating. Actually, this is better. So we want a nice straight edge. I was taught this by Dale Nish. Dale was my mentor. I worked as his assistant for several years at Brigham Young University back in the early 80s, mid-80s actually. So what you would do, this is when you're putting your knives in. You're going to lower your cutter head, you're going to lower your outfeed table. I usually draw an arrow on that so I know which way I'm going. Can you tell, Jake, am I going down or up? No, I'm going down. Okay. So you would lower your cutter head, put a mark right here on the end of the table, and then you would turn that. I didn't lower it. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. It takes me a minute to figure it out. That one up. Somebody's been playing with this. Okay, there. Now I would also go in and I would number these. 2, so you know where you are. 3. So I would set this on, and I'd have my fence all the way over. Set it so that the mark is right at the edge of the table. The blade picks it up. Sorry, got to get this one down out of the way. Somebody was playing with this. I think it was Willie. At least it will blame him. Try this again. Over tight, but I don't want to actually be touching the fence. So with the mark right on the edge, I pick it up, and then it's going to drop it. So I would put a mark right here, and then I would come over to this end, put the head back over, put the mark right here, rotate the cutter. It should pick it up. Okay, see, it didn't drop it in the same spot. That means this knife is lower at this end than it is over there. So what I would have to do is I would have these loose enough that they're held in position, but I still want to be able to adjust them. And all of them they're all different. This one is good because if you see, there's a set screw right there that I can turn, and that will raise the blade. Doesn't lower it very well unless it's just sitting underneath it. So it's always best that they be low, and then you raise them up. When I get that one parallel so that it's lifting and dropping the board at the same amount on both ends, then I go to the next one. And what we want to make sure when we get here is that it does the same. Make sure there's no debris underneath. Make sure that it does it the exact same way. So
Same amount.
Same amount. Set our mark right there, pick it up, and drop it. So you see these two are set at the same spot. And I would come over and check that one, and then I would do the third one. And it takes a little bit of time to get, but there's all kinds of jigs to do it. I've never had any of them work as well as that simple little method. All right. So, and then let me finish. Now when it comes to setting the outfeed table to the top of the cutter head, you're going to have the machine, you want to get it close, and close means, you know, I wouldn't want to be, that's obviously too low because it's picking up and moving it too much. I want it to just be starting to touch the bottom of that board. So I would do it that way first, then I would turn the machine on, and I would run the board over. If the board ends up hitting the table, then you know that this is too high. If the board ends up being cut and you can see a gap between the bottom of the board and the table, then this is too low. So you have to get it so that it eventually gets to a point where halfway through the board doesn't rock. So that means this is now on the exact same plane as the top of the cutting circle. And then you got it right. This is a real pain, but if you're going to own a joiner, you have to know how to do it.
Super Dave has requested that you not throw his jointer further out of alignment.
His joiner? Didn't we already send him one?
Well, he wants a new one.
Oh. Greedy. He's already added a third turd to the herd. What's the name of it?
Oh, Shredder and Mayhem.
Shredder and Mayhem.
His name or Michelle's name for that.
So Super Dave and his wife, it's more like Dave's wife and Super Dave, have now taken on the same kind of goats that we had that we didn't want. What were they called? Miniature something or other? Cute to watch when somebody else owns them. And they just added a third one. So if you want to see some funny pictures, request a friend, Super Dave, on Facebook, and you can watch him chasing these goats around. Next, Frick. That question that you were going to start on.
Yeah, so this is the question about the noise. It's from Peter Roberts. He's in the chat.
Hi, Peter.
He says, how would you go about managing noise and dust from the joiner planer? I live in a residential area and only really get to woodwork in the evenings and on weekends.
So let's deal with noise first. So the more expensive, as a rule, the more expensive the machines, the quieter they're going to operate. I find that with vehicles too. This thickness planer over here is a General. It's an old one, pre-1964. I only know that because of the label. But this actually has all of its gears are inside this box, which is bathed in oil. I'm going to turn this one on so you can see the difference. But talk about noise. Holy. Oh, shoot. Sorry. I forgot that's 220 power. Trust me, this is loud, but this is designed to, this is somewhat of a portable machine, so what they lack in torque.
Give me your phone. It's vibrating your microphone. It's really loud.
What it lacks in just brute torque, it makes up for in real high speed, high RPM. So that's going to be, the faster the motor spins, the noisier it's going to be. So if you're thinking about buying one and you want one that's going to be quiet, then stay away from these smaller units that turn at such a high speed. What I was going to tell you, I'll just turn this on real quick. I don't know how well the sound is. That's not bad. I can carry on.
That's also that, isn't it that knife?
I can carry on a conversation with that one. Is this 220?
Yeah, they're all 220.
They're all 220. How did we run 220 before in here?
I had a plug.
Oh. The example I was going to give you is that one, the gears are all run in a bath of oil. This one, the gears are all open. So this tends to be a little bit louder. How can you make it quieter? Probably the easiest way is to switch knives. These straight knives these are actually carbide knives. So this is the best of that system. That's an even better system, but if you're going to replace that, you're looking at about $1,000, $100 per inch. So an 8-inch cutter head for that is going to cost, I may be a little bit off my numbers, but it's going to be somewhere between $700 and $800, which for some people, that's the cost of the jointer. So I would switch to that as my first way of combating noise, going to the segmented cutter head. It's definitely a lot quieter when it actually operates. As I was mentioning, this one, you've got a flat knife, 3 of them that are slapping that board each time it comes around. These ones, because of the helical pattern, there's always a blade engaged in the wood. So it just tends to be a lot less vibration, a lot less noise. But if you're going to have power tools, I can't think of a way other than putting it in an insulated room, how you're going to cut the noise down that much. That'll do a little bit, but not a whole lot. Next, Rick.
So Jack Lane wants to know if you've
Jack Lane wants to know what?
if you have ever seen Baltic birch plywood wreck the carbide on spiral cutter heads on a jointer. He says he ruined his.
Really?
Yeah.
No, Jack, I have not had that problem, and I use quite a bit of Baltic birch. Don't know what's going on there.
Doug Dolter wants to know if Frick is tall or Rob is short.
Yeah, well, we meet in the middle. I'm 5'7" and a half, a little taller in the morning. And when I wear shoes, Frick, I think, is 6 feet.
6 even, yep.
6 even. I have far less distance to fall. Next question.
All right, Nick, this one comes from the
At
chat.
your age, falls are things that you're considering in your future?
Yeah.
You should get an Apple Watch.
A lot of age jokes. Let me address that one real quick. So today is Erica's birthday. Not my daughter Erica, but Luther's wife Erica. She's much younger than he is. And I don't know very many people that have the same birthday as me. It's also my birthday. Erica, I think, is 39. I'm 60 today. How many people do we have on, Frick?
We have 700.
Okay, so now's the time I'm going to ask you for something. I'm going to be so bold as to ask you for a birthday present, but it's a special one. If you benefit from all the YouTubes that we do, from all these lives, I want to tell you how much work goes into them. When we do a YouTube, Jake and I did one this week that we spent 3 days on it, on the one making the wooden handle. 3 days. Now that involves Luther writing the script. Jake and I then have to decipher what he's written. That takes a day. We film it. Jake has to wear this harness all day long while we're doing it. There's a lot of setup. Everything else we do has to be put on the side. Once we film it, capture it all on video, it goes to Frick. Frick uploads it and gets a rough edit that Luther then takes and butchers, sends it back to Frick with a bunch of instructions, a lot of instructions.
A lot.
Frick goes in and does all that editing, sends it back to Luther. They go back and forth until they finally have it ready to produce. So that's 4 people working on it. On our broadcast that we do on Saturday night, Erica and my wife and my mother-in-law and probably a couple of my kids provide a meal for everybody involved, which makes
your camera froze. Look at the other one.
Which makes it easier for us to be able to do this. And there's a lot of time involved. Moose comes up here and donates his goods and sits there and listens to me blab for 2 hours. Megan comes in, and she's there primarily to just make sure that any of the combat wounded vets on here get recognized. Ken Anthony. Ken is sitting somewhere up in at a nearest cottage, and he's going through to see if there's anything that he needs to answer. Luther's on here, and Luther organizes a whole bunch of this. He gets all the questions that you've added in beforehand so that we try to get through as many as possible, and tries to keep me on track. Super Dave on there, and what does he do?
Yeah, we're not quite sure. Provides the entertainment, maybe.
Super Dave does something, and I know he's busy at it. So there's a lot of work that goes into this, but we enjoy it. But if you are benefiting from it, and you think, you know what, I really like that, I'd like to give back somehow, here's how you can give back and give me a birthday present. make a donation to the Purple Heart Project. You'll feel great about it. You can do as little or as much as you want. You can do, if you want, to bring one vet, we have to update our numbers, to bring one vet, to fly he or she in, to put him up in a hotel for now, we used to do 6 days, now we're doing 7. No, they have Sunday, Monday,
nights.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 8 nights in a hotel. Feed them fantastic food, and we feed them nothing but the best. Send them home with $3,500 to $4,000 worth of tools. And then they got the bench brigade that does all of that. It's expensive. Out of pocket, we provide the vise and the bench dogs, which and by the time we ship them, what's that worth, Jake? $500?
Yeah, 450 to 5.
$450, $500. So if you were to say, all right, Rob, what does it take to cover one vet from his front door to here to back? We used to say $3,500. It's probably closer to $4,500. So if you want to take care of one vet, you can remain nameless, or we can tell them who it did, whatever you want. You can do that. But a $10 donation helps, because multiple $10 donations help with carry those expenses as well. Whatever you want. But I would like a birthday present as a gift to the Purple Heart Project. And Erica, I'm sure, would be saying the same thing, and she's quite possibly watching this.
We've had a few people in the chat say that we should try and break the donation record this evening, so that would be nice.
Oh, you know what? No, I got to say, what camera am I talking to?
Yeah, Jake's.
Jake's. We have people that donate every time. I'm not going to say their names. They don't need to. They understand the importance of it. And it's awesome that they do. When I look and I see we've had 800 people on, and I look at the donations that came in, and I know it's all coming from a small handful of people, I think, you know what? Come on, folks. Get the spirit of what we're trying to do. We start our first class on August 23rd. Finally, this COVID crap has released us from its grip enough that we're going to be able to run a class. So we've got a Canadian-only class, because we still haven't opened the border, that are coming in. We've already filled all of the spots. I want a special shout out to Tony and Al. Tony and Al are the 2 combat wounded vets that work here. We actually pay them. What does Tony do?
Comic relief also.
Comic relief.
Janitor.
Tony comes in Thursday and Friday. Al comes in Tuesday and Wednesday. Both of them have been donating some extra time to help us get the class ready. Both of those gentlemen are also in the class. They have been selected. That's how we met them. They had applied for the class. And they are more than worthy of any kind of thanks that we can give to them. So our first class is on the 23rd. We got to get this place whipped into shape. I wish we had the range, because I want to take you back. We've had Kevin Lasky in finishing off the MASH mess hall. I'm going to get you to see it, because it's incredible. All we have to do now is paint the classroom. The quiet room is finished. The 2 bathrooms are done. Jake did the lights on them today, finished that up. The kitchen, Rex and Rick did the sheetrock in there on yesterday. It'll be insulated. Roger's coming in to run the wires. Paul, who came and took one of our classes, good friend of ours, Paul's done all of the plumbing. We've got a few bits of equipment that we still have to purchase, but we're keeping our fingers crossed and burning the midnight candle, so we'll be ready for the 23rd. So the expenses will kick in again. We spent a lot of money in this place, but I consider it the best possible investment that we could have made in terms of what it does for these people. So, thank you. Next question, Frick.
Can I quickly say my newest contribution to the Purple Heart Project?
What is that?
Yeah,
Well-
you can probably say it pretty quick.
It's not direct money, but as many of you know, my favorite thing to do when the vets are here is to barbecue for them. And we hold our barbecues every second weekend if we can to raise money. And hopefully by the next live, based on the request of Jake and some of the people in the chat, we are going to be selling the official Frickin' Good Barbecue t-shirts. The profits from the t-shirts will go directly towards the Purple Heart Project, specifically towards the food when they're here to feed them. So look for those. Hopefully next time they're on the way, And if Luther and I can get them on the website, they'll be for sale by the time we have the next live. So that's what we're doing.
Awesome. Awesome. The last...
I don't know who's going to want to buy one of those, though.
I think they look pretty cool. Plus, they have Grand Bay, New Brunswick on them. So I tried to make them kind of like a touristy shirt because when people travel, they like to buy a shirt from where it is. And so it has Grand Bay on it, has a little Canadian leaf on it, and it has the...
and it has an extra long shirt tail that can be double as a bib, right?
Yeah. And it has the little Purple Heart logo on my apron in the picture on the shirt. So again, profits go towards Purple Heart Project and feeding the vets when they're here.
Excellent. Thank you, Frick.
All right.
That's actually a family event. How many people, when we have that barbecue, Erica puts in 5 or 6 hours, Bentley, Lincoln, Cooper, McLaren, Kenzie, Annika, no, not Annika, she comes home tonight, Loren, Rex,
Megan, if she's off work.
Megan. There's a whole whack of people that work it. It's busy and...
yeah, it does really well.
Okay, next, give me a question. I'm going to get yelled at.
Walt Washburn from North Carolina says...
What's his first name?
Walt.
Walt. Hi, Walt.
You restore a lot of old machines, including planers and joiners. What is your process for repainting them, and what color do you use that matches the original general green paint?
Well, actually, Al loves to do that, so he's been doing the last several of them. You can take a piece, anything that has that color, into a paint shop, and they have a little photo gun or some. They have a way of capturing that, and they'll mix you up the exact color scheme. We found we got a can when we bought that General from a fellow down in Michigan. He sent it with a can of paint, and it was the best. It was the absolute best paint that we'd ever had. In fact, he also included this, which is a spray can, and this is the General Green. I don't know how I can give you any more information than that. So I think General International, as far as I know, is still in business, and they would have a supply of that. So what was it? Give me the rest of the question again, because I don't know if I got there.
So he said you restore a lot of old machines, including planers and joiners. What is your process for repainting them, and what color do you use that matches the original general green?
Okay. So as far as the process, when I do it, I go overboard. I like to take it all apart so that you can professionally paint every piece. We've taken some, and we used to actually spray them, but I found out that this paint will go on with a brush, a foam brush in particular, and look just as good as if it's been sprayed. So the best way to do it is either a ton of masking tape or take the pieces off, paint them, let them thoroughly dry. You have to degrease. You have to make sure all grease has been removed. And Al uses a wire brush and goes at them to really get them good and clean. But probably the grease is the worst part because it won't let the paint stick. So my formula, take it all apart, mask off what you have to. I no longer spray anymore, it's too much hassle. Paint with a brush. A foam brush seems to work best. And put it back together and let it look brand new.
Do we know what the donation record is set at?
11,000.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah. Hey, I'm only going to be 60 once.
Nick asked how he can process a board that's wider than his joiner bed.
Oh, wow. Ned?
Nick.
Nick.
But is he asking because he only has a jointer? Or he has a jointer and a planer?
No, we want to.
Well,
So-
we did a video on it.
We did?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll just give it to you in a quick. Everybody has seen people talk about taking the guard off, which is the one thing I don't do, and running half of the board and then flipping it over and doing the other half. I can't see how that would ever work out. And I think I actually tried it one time to not much avail. So I think if you're going to flatten the bottom side of a board that's wider than your jointer, you better get yourself a hand plane and learn how to use it and get that flat by hand. That is the safest way. It may take a little bit longer, but you know what? When we bring the guys in and typically we're dimensioning lumber on Wednesdays, and we give them boards that are usually 30 inches wide by 6, 7, 8 inches, 30 inches long, 30 inches wide. 30 inches long by 6, 7, 8 inches wide. And it probably takes them 3 to 4 hours to get the first board processed by hand. And the next board is half of that, and the next board might be even half of that. So the learning curve is steep. Steep, is that the way to describe that?
Yep.
Steep.
Yep.
So it won't take you a whole lot to get to that point where you can do it by hand. I would do that before I would try to process a wide board on a narrow jointer. Okay, next, Frick.
All right, the next question comes from John Bees, or Buys, I'm not sure. He's in Alabama.
Hi, John.
He says, can you please explain snipe, what it is, what causes it, what does it look like, and what can be done to prevent it or fix it?
Yeah, I got a piece right here. Where's that piece of Kingwood, Jake?
Oh, just before you continue, Mrs. Claus says we will take 7 of the T-shirts and give them to the vets at the first class. Rob can send Mr. Claus an email on the cost.
Which T-shirts? The new,
The freaking good BBQ.
the frickin' good barbecue ones?
Yes, first sales. Thank you, Mrs. Claus. Knew it could depend
Now
on
Frick's not going to sleep. Okay, so here's snipe. If you can see, there's a line right there. So this is low, and then it bumps up right here. It goes down there,
Ask Ahmed how that
and it
happened.
drops down. Yeah, Ahmed, tell us that. So what typically happens, and you know, I've heard all kinds of companies say that they've eliminated snipe. I've yet to see it. Typically, you should never have snipe off of your jointer. If you've got snipe off your jointer's not set up properly. And typically what would happen is the infeed table, the outfeed table would be just a little bit too low. So you cross over here, and then because it's too low, the cutter is taking off more than this is compensating for. When the board drops off the end of the infeed table, then it allows this board to drop down a little bit lower, and the cutter snipes a little bit off, and you feel it right there. That can be eliminated by raising your outfeed table. So snipe comes from your jointer. Pardon me, your planer. So if you look at a planer, I'll wind this down so Jake can get his camera in there.
Super Dave said, oh great, now Frick has to sew 7 shirts.
Well, he has to have something to do when he's at Costco. Okay, so if you look in here, you have bed rolls. How come that moves around, Jake? Did you notice that?
No, but you took it apart.
So the bed rolls are designed to make it so that the board will go through a little bit easier. So in order for them to work, they have to be sitting a little bit higher than the bed itself. Otherwise, they'd have no advantage. Because they're just a little bit higher, they essentially reduce some of the friction is what they're doing to allow your board to travel. The problem is that if they're higher than the bed, then the board's going through. Can you imagine the board stretching all the way across? And then once it gets here and drops off of that, it's going to drop down a little bit, and that's going to change the what happens on the top of the board as a result of the cutter head. So one of the ways you can do it, or one of the ways you can eliminate or get rid of some of the snipe is either drop these down altogether and just keep your surface of your table waxed, and it'll work fine. And when it starts to stick, you just have to stop and wax it again. So I need to do that and drop these down out of the way. Sometimes these are powered, and I think mine are. No, they're not. They're not. Sometimes your infeed or your bed rolls are actually powered, and they help push the board through. So you can eliminate your bed rolls as one way of doing it. Sometimes you've got pressure bars up in here that put downward pressure, on the board. But the table has to be able to raise and lower. And what happens is you've got this side of the frame and this side of the frame are milled. And they need to be parallel to each other, because this part of the table is squeezed against this, and these gibs over here, there's three bolts over here, and they push that piece of steel against this so that you can't rock your table back and forth. You
Yours
see?
has movement.
Yeah, I know. I've got to go in and adjust this. See that? There shouldn't be movement there. The problem with that is if your table rocks, as your board goes through, the pressure bars are going to push this side of the table down like that, and then when the board goes all the way through and it leaves this last this last infeed bar, it's going to tip in that direction, and that's going to make the top a little bit wonky. So that's probably the part that's the hardest to get rid of, because in having that adjustability, you introduce a little bit of play. This one operates a little bit differently. The bed stays still. That one, the bed comes up and down. This one, the motor and the cutter head go up and down. And it's got 4 threaded rods in there that hopefully raise them all at the same time. But still, anytime you have that adjustability, you're going to deal with a little bit of snipe. That's why I say I've never seen any company be able to eliminate it. Now, the problem, how do you fix it? Well, you have to account for that. So if you want a 3/4 inch board finished, you got to leave it a little bit heavier than that coming out of the planer so that you can then hand plane it, because you don't get snipe with a hand plane, and perfect it in the process of getting down to 3/4. I went and several years ago, I was hired by a urologist. That just happens to be what he did for a living in the Midwest. He asked me to come in for 3 days and teach him hand tool woodworking. Wow, what a shop. Incredible. He had 6 or 7 pieces of equipment in there that were worth over $30,000 each. And he had what was called a super surfacer. His thickness planer was all digital, so you just went in and you punched in whatever you wanted. Everything was automatic. You fed the board. So if he wanted a board that was 3/4 of an inch finished, he would have it come out 0.754, right? And it would come out. Now it would have little marks on it from the cutter head, and then we'd go over to a super surfacer. Now the super surfacer is made in Japan, and it's essentially a big fixed knife on a bit of an angle, and it would take your board and it would pull your board underneath this fixed knife as opposed to a rotating knife, and out would come this 2,000 thick shaving, the full width of the board, which was, if you can imagine the shave, people get excited when they see a shaving that I have that's that wide. Imagine one that's coming off that wide. So he'd send that through, and it would give him literally a hand plane finish on the top. He'd flip it over, take 2,000 off that side, and he would now have a board that measures 0.750 that was essentially flawless. Now you can have that, you just have to spend about $60,000 because each of those 2 machines was about the same amount of money. Anyway, that's the most expensive way to get rid of
Somebody
snipe.
was asking about phase converters, if they can only find three-phase machines.
So that's always been the problem, that a lot of machinery coming out of small production shops has 3-phase power, and residential areas we only have single-phase. We only have single-phase here. So what we did, I bought this thinking it was single-phase, and it turned out to be 3-phase. So it used to be, I'm not much of an electrician, so bear with me. It used to be to convert 3-phase to single-phase, you had to physically have a motor turning a generator that created that other phase, and I don't know what I'm talking about. I know it was noisy, and there was a power loss in the process. Now you can do it electronically. So we have a switch over here just because. Oh, how do I shut that off?
Wait,
Will it shut off by itself?
the area.
Anyway, so even when it's not being used, there's a hum. So we have that switch to just kill it so we don't have to listen to that hum. But then you come down and you turn this on. So this is the phase converter, Jake?
Yeah.
How much was it?
That's a variable frequency drive, but yes, it's $500.
How much?
500.
So this cost $500 in order for me to run a 3-phase motor. How many horse? 3? 3. A 3 horsepower motor in here. Had I known, I could have gone out and bought a 3 horsepower single phase motor for $500.
But
There,
that
okay.
also has, yeah.
You hear the noise? So that's running all the time. So rather than
But
deal with that.
that's also programmed to have a 3-second startup, so you don't have that huge surge in power when when you
Okay.
turn it on.
That'll eventually stop.
Yeah.
Anyway. 3-phase motors are a dime a dozen. Single-phase motors cost a lot of money.
Somebody's asking,
What?
what do you think of the Dewalt 13-inch?
You know, the little tabletop. If it's all you have, well, then, you know, make do. But I've never been thrilled with them. We've used them in numerous places that I've worked. Or at, I think that's what we had at Anderson Ranch Art Center back when I was up there in 1987. And they're light duty. Yeah. Personally, I would save my money and buy a stationary machine. So you say, well, yeah, I know, but I can get one for $600 or $700 as opposed to spending, if you can even buy them today, they're so hard to get. If you're going to buy a thickness planer like that, you're probably going to spend $2,500, $3,000. But it's actually worth it. So I would probably save the money until I could afford to buy that. Or watch the used market. There's a lot of aging baby boomers who are no longer doing this that are selling off their equipment. In the last 2 months, I've been contacted by 2 people locally. One gentleman had a stroke, could no longer use his shop. I went in and bought a bunch of his equipment. And another fellow was just getting out of woodworking and getting into rebuilding motorcycles. So I went up there to see his stuff. I didn't end up buying any of it. But so if you watch in the used tool market, Kijiji, what do they use down in the States? What's it called? Craigslist. There's a lot of that stuff floating around. Just got to be patient. Next one, Frick.
Okay. Next.
Oh, before you, yeah, I want to acknowledge something. So I got an interesting thing in the mail this week from Peter Leifman down in Australia. I'll just read you a little bit of it. So he sent me 2 patches. And the National Geographic article, which is, how can I can't, this is too long to read. But these are patches representing Vietnam veterans, Australian Vietnam veterans. And the letter that he sent told me all about this patch and where it comes from. So that will find a place on my apron. Thank you very much, Peter. Okay, next question, Frick.
All right. Next question comes from Fabio in Rochester.
Hey, Fabio.
He says, can you explain a method used to flatten and thickness a board wider than your jointer?
Yeah, we answered that question.
Well, no, we did a video.
We actually did a YouTube. So if you go to my YouTube channel and you search that topic, we went in. We actually did a couple of videos on surfacing a board wider than your jointer. It's hard. It is difficult at first. If you learn how to sharpen, that takes 70% of the difficulty, maybe even 80% away. So if your plane is set up properly and it's sharpened properly, then you're going to be able to do this. You just have to understand what you're doing, and you're going to have to think it through. You want to take off the high spots and bring them all down to the low spots. And use your winding sticks. Use a flat reference surface. It's a lot easier if you can set a board on a good flat surface and check and see if it rocks. And you've got to go in. Always best to take off small bits of material and check frequently than to take off a lot of material and check infrequently. That's where you get into trouble, and you end up getting way too low in a corner, or you hollow it out, or you leave a big bump in the middle. So it's just use your eye, sight down the board. That allows you to take care of the macro problem. You can really see that back corner is high.
I shared the link.
Did you? Okay. You go in and you can eat away at that, and then as you get closer and closer, and you can no longer spot the discrepancy with your eye, then you're going to go in and use that flat reference surface, or your winding sticks, or a straight edge. All this is explained in that video, but it's fun. It's a lot of work. Build some muscle. Next, Frick. Any more vets, Megan? Okay. Go ahead, Frick.
Someone had a really good idea that if we could somehow program a live donation counter on the screen, that'd be awesome, but I don't know how we're going to do that. But something to work on for next time.
You'll figure it out. Where are we right now, Megan?
We're at 10,755.
Wow.
Is that Santa Claus?
That's
No?
the 7
Wow.
shirts.
That's, yeah, Frick didn't tell you what the price of those shirts were.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty impressive at 1 hour into it. When do we bring in Ebby on?
I will text him now, probably in the next 10 minutes.
Okay, all right, let me know.
Question?
So thank you for the birthday present. You know, I was thinking the other day, I'm 60 years old. I got all the toys that I want because this is what I do, woodworking. And I thought, I really don't need, there isn't anything that I need. There isn't anything that I want that I can't rent or get or whatever. So if somebody really wanted to do something wonderful for me, what would you do? You would do something to make the Purple Heart Project expand its outreach and allow us to bring in more of these troops. And, you know, they're starting to find us, which is awesome. Al showed up at our door, and I have to correct this. I thought Al just showed up at our door. My son Rex was getting gas, and he had a Rob Cosman Purple Heart t-shirt on. And Al was working at the gas station, and he happened to say to him, he said, hey, you know Rob Cosman? Sort of. He's my father. So Rex had guided Al to come here. And Al showed up at the door one day and introduced himself and told me Al was retired as a tank commander. And during one of his tours in Afghanistan, a suicide bomber with a Toyota truck full of propane bottles detonated it. Al's got one arm full of Toyota shrapnel, and then the fireball from the explosion started to cook off, that meaning started to cause his ammunition to start to fire on its own, and he's got some holes in him from that. So, you know, Al's been there, done that. And Al told me that because of his PTSD, he said, dealing with these rude people, he didn't mean Rex, working at this gas station, this is not good. And I said, well, Al, come work here. So he's been here ever since. And we found Tony. How did Tony, I guess Tony, I don't know how we found Tony. He showed up at our door too. But it's working, we're getting there. We were now emptying that lake. We've gone from a spoon to a cup. We're getting somewhere. And I find out if people, everybody seems to knows of a combat wounded vet. I'll tell you a quick story. So we were doing the last barbecue here, and I like to stand out front. I usually bring my bench out and I plain piece of wood so people that aren't us don't know what shavings look like, and they get all Twitter-pated when they see it. And it gives me an opportunity to bring up the topic. And I saw this guy sitting in his truck in the parking lot, and it was probably 75 feet away from me. And I've learned to follow these promptings, and I said, I need to go over and talk to him. I had no idea who he was. And then I kind of said, nah, you don't. And I said, no, I got to. So I walked over. I was just going to give him a business card and just tell him real briefly what we do. And as I got close to him, he said, Rob Cosman. And I looked at him. He said, Mike Borden. I said, you're kidding me. Well, I went to school with Mike, grade 1 through grade 9. That's been a while. And I don't think I've seen him since. So I invited him to come in and showed him all of what we do in here, and tells me that his brother Steve, had just recently retired. I think he had either 27 or 32 years, 15 tours, multiple tours to Afghanistan, and I don't think you can go to a war zone like that without coming back affected. And of course, he has bad PTSD. And I made him promise me, I said, bring him here. Bring him here. If nothing else, I just want to shake his hand and thank him, but let us tell him about what we do here, and you never know, it just might connect with them, and next thing you know, you got somebody back on the path, on the good path. So, help, thank you, be a part of it, you'll feel wonderful for doing it. Next, Frick.
All right.
We have Ray Door on.
Cool, Ray. I always have to mention this. So Ray is, there's not very many people that I'm taller than. Ray's one of them. Ray's Vietnam vet. Ray is from Louisiana. And Ray, in Vietnam, drove a mule. Now, that is the oddest looking vehicle I think I've ever seen. It's like a powered gurney. And I don't know what they used it for. They used it for everything from transporting wounded to shuttling supplies. And Ray told us one day he was in his mule coming down this side of this hill and going wherever he was going, and coming up the hill were the landmine detectors. Ray was going the wrong way, but he made it through. But Ray, it was so fun having you here. I think of Ray and who's in the back of the room? The two.
Oh, well, are you talking about Pete?
Peter Ambrose. Pete Ambrose is from, he's from Mississippi. Is Pete here? No. So Pete was in Vietnam. Pete was in the first Gulf War. He was a lifer. And the two of them, both Vietnam vets, and you know what? Those guys came back to an absolute embarrassment in the way the country treated them. So whenever a Vietnam vet applies for our program, they get bonus points because we owe it to them. They did not have the support that the guys coming back today. Equally tough job. One had to keep his mouth shut and not wear his uniform, and the other one is now treated like they should be treated, or at least we're trying. So Pete and Ray, that was a memorable class. Glad you're here.
Mark Wachowski.
Oh, Mark Wachowski's on?
Wachowski, yeah.
Wachowski? Oh, I always pronounce it wrong.
Wachowski.
Mark was an EOD, Navy, 25 years. And Mark, such a wonderful person. Thank you. And did you say Bobbert? So Bob Abbott, who was Air Force, and Bob was the life of the party. Bob kept everybody laughing. He actually came back and helped us. The last class I think we taught here in our old shop. Great to have you gentlemen on. Wonderful memories when I hear who's out there.
Okay, so we have Ebby on right now.
Ebby's
over here. If you
so
wanna...
Ebby is still active duty. He's also EOD. EOD stands for Explosive Ordnance Disposal. These people are trained to find those roadside bombs or whatever it is and detonate them before they end up killing our servicemen and women. And he has a special guest tonight. So are we ready?
We are.
Can I see it over here on this?
No.
No. Where do I need to see it?
Just you can come over by me.
You rolling?
Yeah, Rob's coming over. Just one sec.
Awesome.
Can you come over this way?
Yeah.
My cord's not that long here.
Evening, gentlemen.
Hey, evening, Rob.
How are you?
Good. First and foremost, happy birthday.
Yeah, you can pass that. I don't need that.
Well, hey, thanks for letting us come on tonight. A couple purposes in being on tonight. I wanted to tell a little bit about my experience at Purple Heart, talk a little bit about the Bench Brigade, and first and foremost, I happened to be up in Wisconsin this week for some military training. We had about 52 explosive ordnance disposal technicians come into Volk Airfield and Fort McCoy to do some training to give them the confidence and skills they need to do their job downrange. Wonderful exercise, a lot of good experience was gained there. And I realized once I got up here that I was only a couple hours away from Chris's place. So I rang him up and asked if I could come meet him in person. I've never met him before, and he was able to accommodate that. Chris is a friend that I've gained through the Purple Heart program and through the Bench Brigade. And I'll let Chris explain a little bit more about his involvement with the Bench Brigade. But after attending the course at Rob's place up there in Canada, I went home with some awesome tools. But in my garage, I had a really poorly built workbench from probably 30 years previous when my father-in-law owned it. It was just a bunch of 2x4s. I didn't have any clamp or vices or anything, and I would use big, large clamps to clamp my workpiece to the bench. It was really awkward to do the things that I had learned in Rob's course. The Bench Brigade was able to provide a bench at some point, which was phenomenal. And it opened up a gateway to some additional friendships. Kim Nielsen is the gentleman that built my bench, lives in Idaho, a few miles or just up the road from where I was living in Utah at the time. And I've been grateful for that bench. It's been awesome, an awesome tool I have in my garage. It's where I do all my therapy. My wife knows that if she looks out in the garage and I'm taking shavings off the wood, she knows I've got a little bit of stress to unload, and 20 minutes later I'll be just fine. It's something about the tools and the wood that just does miracles for me. But in that process, last spring when COVID kicked off, I was spending a lot of time in the garage, and I committed myself to a little dovetail study, and I was trying different things, different types of woods and different thicknesses, meeting them together, and even half blinds. I got up to the point where I was ready to to take on half blinds. And I made a successful attempt, but I did it using garage tools. I took a feeler gauge that was the same thickness as my saw, and I used that as a kerf extender because I didn't have a kerf X10, and I made a little post and put it out there and mentioned that, I found a way to do this, but someday I'll save up some money and I'll get one of Rob's kerf X10s because I can see the value in it. It would be a lot easier than what I did. And Chris saw that, and he had been following some of my other posts, and he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, your posts are inspiring me and a lot of other people. I really appreciate what you're doing and sharing with everybody from the skills you learned at Rob's program. And I want to help you out a little bit." And little did I know what he had in mind, but a couple weeks later in the mail, a kerf X10 arrived, as well as a half-blind dovetail chisel. And the generosity blew my mind, but I think the most meaningful part of that engagement between me and Chris was just his post that said, "Hey, you're inspiring me and a lot of other people." And here I am just thinking I'm by myself in my own little world in my garage, sharing with others, trying to learn. And by sharing with others, I kind of learn. Because if you can teach others what you're doing, that's really the metric for learning, right? When you get to that point where you can share it with others. But the fact that he used the word inspire really inspired me and said, "Hey, well, maybe I can do a lot more with what I'm doing. Maybe I can share a lot more. Maybe I can help a lot of other people," which is what he's all about. Whether it's the Bench Brigade, or I've had some time to spend with him today. He doesn't have kids in soccer anymore, but he dedicates a lot of time to the local soccer leagues and a lot of other efforts. He's doing amazing things. He's got a great heart. And so main purpose of my visit for him was Rob's talked about military coins on his program. As a chief master sergeant in the Air Force, I have an EOD coin. I don't know how well the camera can pick up on that, but the front side of it is a U.S. flag with an EOD symbol on it. And the back side of it, if you can read it, is a Chief Master Sergeant insignia chevron, and it says "Presented for Excellence." And this isn't just one of those things that you send in the mail and tell somebody thanks in a letter with. This is something where you hunt them down, you look them in the eye, you put it in your hand, you shake their hand, and you say thank you. Thank you for the support you've given me, given the Purple Heart program, because I know he's made some generous donations. And thank you from the Bench Brigade. On behalf of all those recipients that have received benches, I know Chris has been elemental in making sure those benches get to them. And there are a lot of allergens in the air today. I noticed that when I got here, I got a little bit stuffy, and it's affecting Chris's eyes. But that's what I wanted to give Chris, was that coin of mine for excellence. And with that, I'll turn the time over to him to share a few remarks on the Bench Brigade and the Purple Heart program. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks. Thank you. This whole program, and Rob said this a lot of times, and he says it very eloquently, and I know that he means it from his heart. Everything that you give into this program is an opportunity to be a part of something that's really awesome. It's not that anybody needs the money and for its own sake. It's an opportunity for each person to make a contribution and to make a difference. And that's really what drove my gift to Eric, was to recognize him for something that he was doing and try to encourage him, because I know that those messages, when they get out, that does make a difference, that people go out and they try new things. They jump into even applying for your program. And of course, when the chance came to be part of the Bench Brigade, I threw my hat in the ring about as fast as anyone could. Got connected through Jack to be a part of that program, and really meeting the vets that I've helped deliver benches to. Boy, that has been just a big game changer for me personally. Every vet that I've met wants to do something more. You give them something to help them out, and they just want to turn around and double that gift and help another vet out. Chris Leverkuhn and Vic Ash are part of the Operation Comfort. Jack and Rick and myself went out there to visit with those guys, and that's really all they want to do. They've got a huge heart, and they want to reach out and help other vets that they can. And you could see that in the way that they took care of the other guys that were there, how much they care and how genuine their interest is in making their lives better. And really, the Bench Brigade is just one of those opportunities that has made a big difference, and not just from the donations themselves, but for being part of some vets' lives. It really does make a difference for them. So on behalf of my family, we actually, Rob, as a part of a birthday gift to you, are going to make a donation of $3,500 to your Purple project.
Thank you. Can we show this family? His family came today to meet me and be part of this. So we've got his wife over here on the right, Mary. His dad, Daryl, right? Yes, Daryl. Brother-in-law, his wife, his sister-in-law, Sue, and his mother, Pat. And then his brother-in-law, Jeff, is running the camera for us. So brother Jeff.
Yeah.
So,
you know, if there's anything that I would like to pass on tonight, and in addition to making an effort to break the record for donations dollar-wise, I would also love to see people break the record for the count of donations. Because I'm telling you from personal experience, when you reach out to these vets and you make a statement, you do something, return an action that they've done for you with an action that you're going to do to say thank you, it makes a difference. Those messages really do have an impact on them. And even if it is those $5, $10 donations, it doesn't have to be a giant donation. I would love to see the count of donations also break its own record, just to have the most number of people that we can do something and to take an action. I can promise anything that you do, every dollar you give, it's like that vet wants to turn around and give 2 more away. And it's very much appreciated, and it's really an opportunity for each person to make, to be a part of something that's been a very, very successful program. So Rob, happy birthday. You have an amazing family. I can't wait to get out there and meet you at the class. That's something I'm still really looking forward to. And God bless the vets. These are just truly incredible people.
and Frank, if we could get one more shout out. I know there's lots of people behind the scenes. I know if there's any person that's putting up with all of Rob's shenanigans and allowing all this to happen, it's his wife. So Kim, thank you for all you do to support Rob and what he is doing for all of us. And yeah, thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen. I salute you. Awesome. Chris, we've got some unfinished business.
Yep.
We'll get back at it.
All right.
Got a little bit of work we're trying to get done to get this class ready. But Ebby, thank you, brother.
Hey, you're welcome.
That was awesome.
Love you, man.
See you guys.
Which camera, Frick?
This one.
Main one.
Huh?
Main camera.
The one hanging on the wall?
No.
No.
Main-
Oh, Jake.
So Luther has finally joined us. He actually locked his keys out. So the locksmith is on the way. However, he's on his cell phone, so he's not able to type that fast. So.
Wouldn't it be great, instead of watching the news, we were able to bring stories like that to you every night? What a difference it would make in everybody's life. It speaks for itself. I can't comment on it. I can't add to it. It's just fantastic. Okay, give me another question, Frick.
Well, we may as well take a question from a vet since we just had that presentation. And who other than Mr. Bobbert?
Bobbert.
He says, has
See, I
Rob...
smile whenever Bob's name gets mentioned, because that's all he did the whole 2 weeks that we had him. First week as a
Quite
student.
literally all that he did.
Did he hear that? Have you got your mic on?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he can hear you.
Bob kept it light when it needed to be lightened, and it was awesome. What do you want, Bob?
All right, he wants to know if you've heard of the disposable blade system for joiners, and have you come across them yet, and what's your opinion?
Well, not so much for jointers, but a lot of the small benchtop thickness planers have disposable knives. So they're usually a knife that has an indexing hole on either side. They're sharpened on both sides. You put them in place, lock them down. When that's dull, you take it out, flip it over, put it in place. When that's dull, you replace them. They're really thin. I think they would be extremely difficult to sharpen. But I haven't seen them on jointers, so that's a new one. But it's probably a very similar setup. I like, well, actually, you know what? Those chiclets are disposable, if that's what he means. I'm not sure if that's what you mean, Bob, but do we have them here?
He says the helicals are 6 to 8 week delay right now.
Oh, listen.
No,
What?
last time I bought one, which would have been 2 years ago, it was 6 weeks before I got it anyway.
Oh.
So that's not,
Well,
that's
I mean,
not much of a surprise.
I get people calling me frequently looking for machinery because everything is back ordered. We had a year and a half where people were at home looking for something to do. Our business has gone through the roof as a result of it, and you can't buy a lot of stuff. I don't even want to tell you when you're going to be able to buy a hand plane again. That's scary.
We have someone asking about, can you explain the bench brigade a little bit more?
Oh, yeah. Love to. So, in fact, Chris and I and Luther and Super Dave and Jake
And Jack.
Jack had a meeting. That was the unfinished business. And Chris had some really good ideas. He and Luther are powwowing about that. But I'll tell you the story as quickly as I can without using up a lot of your question time. But I woke up one night about a year and a bit ago, and it dawned on me, we bring these guys in. A lot of these guys come in, like Super Dave, with no woodworking experience whatsoever, and left with no woodworking experience whatsoever. Just kidding. Super Dave has much experience. They come in, we introduce them to this craft, we train them. Dovetails, I mean, look at these. This is Phil Gustafson, who is probably one of the greatest success stories of the PHP. That was Phil's first dovetail. He did it in 20 minutes or less. I was blown away. And if you look at that closely, it's incredible. This is Marshall Rommel. Similar situation. So these guys they catch on, they do extremely good work. I remember Ivan. Ivan was Ivan's from Texas, and Ivan, as a Marine, was struck twice by a sniper bullet. First one took off his finger, second one went under his armor plating, or bulletproof vest, and destroyed his bladder and paralyzed his left leg. So here he is cutting dovetails on this rickety old leg brace. Last guy to get done, brought it up to show it to me, and we've been laughing and joking all week. He has a great sense of humor. And when he handed it to me, I said, who did that? And he said, I did it. And I didn't mean to insult him, but I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe it. He said, you told me to do it, and I was going to do it right. So they in a relatively short period of time, very short period of time, they developed the skill. We send them home with a boatload of tools. I want to tell you, they go home. I'm going to use mine as a reference. They go home with all the kit that you see right here. The diamond plate, the 16,000, the 6,000, the heavy holder. They go home with a number 6, a 4.5, a low angle block plane, and a medium shoulder plane. They go home with a dovetail saw, and soon to be a dovetail saw, a medium tenon saw, and a joinery crosscut, thanks to the generosity of you donors. They go home with IBC chisels, 1/4, 1/2, and 3/4. They go home with PEC squares, a couple of marking gauges. They go home with a mallet.
Dividers.
They go home with dividers. They go home with dovetail markers.
Marking knife.
Marking knife. They go home with a fret saw. They go home with, what am I forgetting? A mortise chisel, thank you to Lee Nilsson. Two mortise chisels, thank you to Lee Nilsson. They'll go home now with a mortise and gauge. So they go home with just about all the tools that you would need to build a piece of furniture. But what woke me up was no bench. I remember thinking, oh my goodness, how did I miss this? And I called a few of them. No, actually, Rob, I haven't done anything, so I have nothing to work on. I said, oh. But you know what? I'm up to about here. Business is growing. We've got 25 people on the payroll. Some work, some don't. Nothing personal, Frick.
Yeah.
We have We've got our PHP. We're trying to put this together. I couldn't fit that in. Plus the schedule that Luther has us on and producing YouTube videos and a whole bit. And I don't remember how Jack fell into this, but Jack Lane got a hold of me somehow and he said, Rob, he said, you know, I would be eternally grateful if you let me take care of this for you. And I said, Jack, you're an answer to a prayer. That's literal. And Jack grabbed a hold of this thing and ran with it. And all I had to do was talk about it. So what we did, the goal was, how can we put a bench into the home of every one of these combat wounded vets that comes to our program? And our first call was, okay, we'll find civilians who want to participate. We asked the civilian to procure the material, which is essentially a sheet of 1-inch MDF and a sheet of Baltic birch, 5/8 or 3/4 Baltic birch plywood, some nuts and bolts and whatever. I said, we'll take the heat off of we'll take the big expense, which is the vise and the bench dog. So we provide them with that. We give them the video that Luther and I did on building the bench. And I think we originally wanted 30, 32 or something. I don't know how we came up with that number. And Jack said at 100 we had to shut it off because we had more volunteers than we could ever we currently had in need of. And then it's continued to grow from there. So, and I'm not sure how Chris came into the picture, but Chris came in and solved the problem of shipping, how we're going to get these benches in situations where we can't deliver it. But there's been some awesome stories about guys who have driven hours. I think of the fellow up in Alberta who drove Josh's bench out to him in British Columbia. You don't go in a straight line anywhere in British Columbia because you got mountains to go around. And they drove all day to deliver that bench and to meet Josh personally. So, I don't know who that was. What is going on out there? Pardon me. So that's the program. And Jack puts all this together so that he finds where the vets are, and he finds a volunteer that's close by that has the potential to build the bench and personally deliver it. So now I got to tell you this little story. We are having a Canadian-only class. So to date, we've had 88 combat wounded vets come as our guests. Of the 88, we've had one Aussie, Ash from Australia. We've had 4 Canadians. We've had Josh Brian out in BC. We had Jesse Rufiange. Jesse, who lives in Nova Scotia now, is going to come back and be my assistant in this class. We had Kyle Perrell up in Newfoundland Regiment. And we had Sean Pedler, who is Canadian military police up in Ontario. And then the other 83 were American soldiers. A little lopsided, but especially since I'm here in Canada. But I don't care where they're from. It doesn't matter. They've made the sacrifice. But in having this Canadian program, we didn't have any benches. And we only had 1 or 2 Canadian volunteers, and I thank them. And so Jack, arrangements, several Americans decided to step up to the plate, and they made up 7 benches for us. But I had a fellow come down here from Moncton, Jim, just a couple weeks ago. And he came here for some reason, I don't remember, see the tools or something, and we got talking. I told him about the bench brigade. He's 70 years old. He recently set up a hobby woodworking shop up in Moncton, and he was really taken by this bench brigade and the fact that we needed Canadian builders. Well, to make a long story short, they've committed to building, and they've already gotten work on it. They're building 10 benches for us, and they're just going to continue with this. So kudos to you guys. Thank you for stepping up to the plate. That's it's not actually Moncton, it's the Riverview, I think, is it Riverview?
Yeah.
The Dieppe Woodworking Club. Big shout out to you guys. And I told them, I said, I will come up there and I will teach you a class and whatever you want. And the proceeds, as long as you're willing to make a donation to the Purple Heart Project, I'm behind you. So thank you, guys.
Jack Lane says we have 120 volunteers now. And I can't even imagine the time that Jack Lane has put into this, organizing and everything. So
and Jack, every time I talk to Jack, he never fails to say, Rob, thank you for allowing me to do this. So as you're thinking about making a donation, the people that are doing this, It's like like Chris just said, this gives me a sense of purpose. This makes me feel like I'm actually contributing and doing something that is going to impact their lives. I have no idea what's going on in that other room.
Jake, your camera's out again.
Oh my word.
It could be a
Switch.
birthday thing now that I think of
Switch.
it. Okay, and we're over here?
I'm back.
Okay, get back to questions, Frick.
Frick, why am I back?
What?
It's back.
Loren was supposed to open the show tonight and she
Come
didn't.
on.
All right, a second.
Now it is.
Oh, yeah,
Just
okay.
barely came
Am I
out.
back over here?
Yep.
Okay. Next question.
All right.
Any more
next.
bets, Megan? I wish I could read that fast enough so I could keep up, because I always find them. They just didn't speak up. If you're a combat wounded vet and you've been in our class as our guest, would you please let Megan know so I can say hello? I love having these memories come back, flooding back. And it's you do at Megan,
Yep.
That's all you do.
MEAGAN.
MEAG.
There's a lot of ways to spell Megan.
Megan, yes, there is.
Okay, so this next question comes from Mike Johnson in East Tennessee.
Hi, Mike in East Tennessee.
Can you discuss the pros and cons of dovetail ways versus parallelogram style joiners?
Dovetail ways versus parallel. Oh, yeah. You know what? I'm sorry, I can't, because I've never used that parallelogram thing. So this is a dovetailed way. If you look right there, you'll see the dovetail. Okay? So that's how this piece is attached to this. So this is essentially three pieces. You've got the outfeed table, you got the infeed table, and you got the base. And these dovetailed ways allow this table to slide, to move up and down, but it moves up and down on an angle. The parallelogram one is I don't know whether Delta invented it or not, but this one has a hand wheel that you crank, and there's a screw thread in there that pulls it up or puts it down. The one he's talking about has a lever, and you just pull the lever up or down to move the table. It's much faster, but I've never actually used one that I can remember, so I don't know how they work. I don't know if they're any better or any worse. Sorry, I can't answer that question. Next one, Frick.
All right, next one comes from Brant Bolden in Virginia Beach.
Brant?
Yes.
Brent.
Brant. BRANDT.
Oh.
Brant. Did you say
Brant?
Brant. He says, I recently purchased an older joiner and planer with rough, rusty Infield and Infeed and Outfeed tables. Though the blades and rollers have been recently replaced, what is the best way to clean and prepare the Infeed and Outfeed tables?
So the surface rust isn't bad, because that'll come off quite easily. But if you get into a situation where you've got pitting, that's a bit of an issue. You can do it with a chemical, not my choice. What's that one that the guy just, rust cutter?
Well, crud cutter.
Or a navy?
Naval
jelly.
Naval jelly.
Naval jelly. So if you can find that. So we just had somebody tell us that crud cutter is really good at removing rust, or naval jelly.
Naval jelly's the best for flat surfaces.
Because it's liquid, or?
Just because of how it applies, but crud cutter's better if there's multiple surfaces or threads or...
Vertical surface? Why, is crud cutter thicker? Oh, like a paste?
No, crud cutter's thinner. So you would soak
Oh,
stuff with
okay.
crud cutter.
Okay, or you can use these. We have these on our site. They're not very expensive. $6 or $7? $4. Oh, they're even
just
cheaper
went
than
down
that.
in price.
So this is made by Klingspor, and it's like you think it's like a rubber eraser, but it's got silicon carbide all the way through it. So if you want to remove a mark, you just rub it like that. Isn't that amazing? And it's all the way, like I said, it doesn't wear off. I don't know what all these marks are, but a little bit of elbow grease, and you can actually get rid of it. So as long as you're willing to spend the time, you can bring that back to looking like new. They're on our site. Now there's three different grits. There's yellow, which is fine, green, which is medium, and red, which is coarse. And I find that the green one seems to match things the best. Now there's somebody's left a
Tony.
cup. Tony? Tony did that?
Yeah.
Tony. Problem is now I'm going to have a shiny clean spot, And to make it match, I'm gonna have to go through and do the whole thing.
Tony will.
Tony will.
I'm
Tony,
readying my applause button here.
Huh?
If it works, I'm ready with the applause button.
Did you?
Hit it. If you're gonna do that, do we have any in stock? Yeah, if you're gonna do a whole journal, like, you might want to get a couple of those. They do wear down. I mean, here's that's what's left of it, but it still works. Just not much to hold on to. All right, now I'm not going to spend the whole night doing this, but
Somebody.
now that you've seen it.
Michael's asking, any recommendations on running short stock through your planer? Is there a way to run something as short as 4 inches through?
Oh, no. No, I mean, I wouldn't run something that's, what's going to happen, so if you look up underneath here, you've got your Infeed roll right here. So sometimes it's segmented, it's always serrated, or on this one, it's a neoprene, kind of a rubbery compound. So that grabs the board and pulls it in to the cutter head. Behind the cutter head, there's an outfeed roll. Both are powered, meaning they're both rolling. Obviously, the outfeed roll is sitting lower than the infeed roll, so that it still grabs the board, even though the board is thinner now after it's gone past the cutter head. If you run a board that is shorter than the distance between the two power rolls, well, your board's just going to sit there. You're not going to be able to get it through. It's dangerous, too. There's a chance it might get completely chewed up by the cutter head. So I wouldn't, 10 inches. You can always cheat and have another board right behind it, but you're just playing with five. I've never done this survey, but I would be interested in seeing one to determine how often woodworking accidents occur as a result of a short board that somebody has tried to process when they should have just said, no, get a bigger piece. I myself.
Harold
and I both had accidents. I pulverized the bone in my thumb with a short board on a jointer. Stupid move. Harold, who's a few years older than me and has just as much as experience, same thing. He was actually teaching Rex how to use a jointer. And bang, what did he do to his? He broke his thumb back in here. So just, you know what? Short boards are dangerous.
Super Dave said the Rob Cosman elbow grease is amazing. We don't have much luck with the Jay Cosman elbow grease.
Well, Soup, you'll just have to fix that when you come here.
Well, he can say goodbye to the jointer.
He just needs another TV stand is what he needs.
Another TV stand?
For a shop.
Frank? Question?
All right. Next question comes from someone in the chat. Their name is MB. That's all I have. MB. He says, I have a rigid joiner. Whenever I tighten the fence, it doesn't hold 90 degrees to the sled. Is this common? It's like fighting it to stay square to the table.
Sorry. I was just thinking of Sue B. Is Sue B on tonight?
Yeah, she was earlier.
Hi,
I
Sue.
haven't seen her in a minute.
Hopefully we'll come visit you again. Sue's down in Florida. Read that question again for me, please, Frick. I didn't.
Okay, so he says, I have a rigid joiner.
Rigid joiner, yeah.
Yeah, whenever I tighten the fence, it doesn't hold 90 degrees to sled. Is this common?
Oh.
Like fighting it to stay square to the table.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It seems like the way that they anchor these in, as you tighten them, they have a tendency to move. So look, you see how that's out? So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to loosen that. I'm going to grab this lever and pull it a little bit. I find what I have to do, so right now it's tilted this way. And when I tighten it, it has a tendency to want to pull it the opposite way. So I pull it. I start a little bit, and of course it didn't do it that time. Take it off again. Put it a little closer. Okay, it's out the way I told you. And it's still out. Is this going to be the great example? Okay, so that's on. Oh, let me try this one down here. What I'm about to suggest is, actually I'm not going to mess with this. This is one we use, and that's actually on. But what I would suggest is whatever way it has a tendency to move when you're trying to tighten it, go farther in the opposite direction, and hopefully before your 10th attempt, you move it this way just enough so when you tighten it and it tightens up, it pulls it back and holds it straight. Now, did he say that his continues to move?
He says he's fighting with it. Keep it 90 degrees, but
You know what? I don't know why. Here's a good example. So this one on the Makita does not adjust. Oh, yes, it does. Sorry. Sorry, it does. What I was going to say is I rarely, can you remember time that I've ever used that fence for anything but 90 degrees?
Oh, maybe when you did the log, the bird's eye log, did you do it then?
No.
Okay, then never.
Never. I never move that over to any particular. I think a joiner would be the lousiest way to cut a bevel on a piece of wood. So, happy birthday. Is that for me? Wow. Oh, the troop's here. Mickey? I got wrenches. Cooper. Lincoln.
all right, Bentley, that's enough of that.
Bo. Mitch. Loren. Kenzie. Annika. Bo. Bo's friend. Lincoln. Kenzie. Maggie the dog.
Cooper.
Noisy Cooper. Somebody's going to clean this all up. Is that what you were doing over there? Breaking balloons? Luke's here. Well, you hit balloons like you shoot a puck. Have no idea where it's going.
It's a very
Special day, your birthday. This is for Erica.
We'll sing
A special song to you to wish you joy and cheer. Rex, Erica, my wife. To you. Happy birthday to you. She's gonna give me a kiss me. Happy birthday to you. You're blowing it. You're tying up our last.
Happy birthday
to you. Wow, how lovely. Who's behind you, Bo? Who's behind you? Well, bring her in.
McLaren.
And this is my Kim's mother, Eleanor.
McLaren, come here.
In there.
Happy birthday.
Has our viewership dropped or anything, Frick?
Not yet, no.
Good job.
You out of gas?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's all right. Well, you're only blowing out 7 this year. You're not getting any more sexy. Told you.
Okay.
We should have gotten one of the big ones.
Okay.
Is this edible wax that I'm dripping all over the...
It's good for you.
Because you are here.
Healthy. Comes from the ground.
Super Dave says he bought you a baby horse for your birthday.
You're not welcome back.
Okay, you gotta blow them out.
Blow them out. So,
It says what?
learn from this. When we play hockey, we only have one goalie. Where do I tell you to shoot from when you have to hit the post? Shoot from the goal line, then you have 2 posts.
What's it say?
My lung capacity needs some work. What's what say?
The candle.
Doesn't it say,
Happy birthday.
oh, stay young? I could play with those letters and probably... Well, that was wonderful. Nice of you to come.
So they have a little video to show you too.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
does?
Come get my phone.
Who has
Come
a
get
video?
his phone. What?
It's on my phone,
Oh.
and then I'll play it on for everybody else. Can you oh, let me see.
A wood shop with all those candles.
Frick, are you playing it?
Yeah, everyone else will see it too.
Happy birthday, Rob, from sunny San Diego.
Happy birthday, Rob, from sunny San Diego.
Happy birthday, Rob.
We're waiting for you to come. Your room is ready.
Bye. Have a good day.
Hey Rob, David Carroll here. You're my sensei for hand tool woodworking. And see all those great planes up there? I use them, keep them very sharp. My chisels over here, and just all kind of cool tools around. There's my marking gauges and so forth. Appreciate you, brother. Have a good birthday, and wish the boys hello, and talk to you later. Bye.
Hey Rob, Ferris Butler here. Just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. Hey Finley, can you say happy birthday? No, not gonna happen. Happy birthday, Rob. Hope you have a great one. Take care.
How you doing, Rob? Hey, I hear it's your birthday. 60 years old. You're not old. You're just getting started. Happy birthday, my friend.
Hi, Rob. It's your favorite employee. I'm doing this while driving. Happy 40th birthday. I wish you all the best. I enjoy working for you, and I'll see you next Thursday if I'm not fired by then. Okay? Happy birthday, buds.
Hi, Rob. It's Silas. Hey, Rob. It's Sylvia. We watch you every other Saturday with our dad. Happy birthday!
Hey, Rob. On behalf of the Lane family and the entire Bench Brigade, we're just wishing you a happy birthday. Also, hope we can get up to New Brunswick this year to meet you in person for the first time. All the best to you, brother.
Hey, Rob. This is Rick from Tallahassee wishing you a happy birthday. Have a great day.
Rob, happy birthday. Hope it's a good one. Rob, happy birthday from us here in Tennessee. That's Derek back there. Say hi, Derek.
Hi.
And we're out here in this beautiful countryside, putting the trailer back after delivering something. Happy birthday. We miss you. You mean the world to us. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Happy birthday, Dad.
Hey Rob, I wanted to wish you a very happy birthday, and I wanted to tell you thanks for all you've done for all our guys, as well as for me. Every time I grab those tools, I'm back at peace, and you showed me how to get there through your course, so I appreciate that and all you've done. You're a selfless man. God bless you.
What goes around a button? A goat. Ha ha ha. Unlike my jokes that never get old. Happy birthday, Rob.
To the best friend I have up in Canada, and a mentor, and even something of a savior to me, happy birthday, 60th birthday.
Oh, they're still watching it.
All right, no, it's up now. You're on.
Okay, take that. Well, that was worth waiting 60 years for. I don't mind turning 60 years to have that. Great to see some of those people on there. Thank you, guys.
Some of the jokes could have been funnier.
Bye, Chloe.
They can see you.
That was great. Great. Next question.
Give me 1 second. Luther picked out one.
Lucy.
Just got to find it. Okay, so this is Michael Grinny in the chat. He says, any recommendations on running short stock through the planer? Is there a way to run something as short as 4 inches through the... Is that the one we already asked?
Yeah, we asked that one.
Okay, let me see if it... No, that's the only one he had. Okay, never mind. I'll find a different one.
We forgot to pay.
Oh. Save me a piece. My daughter Erica makes stuff that I can eat because I don't do sugar and I don't do dairy and a bunch of other stuff. And she finds these recipes incredible.
And they're expensive.
And Frick pays for it. That's the best part. Oh, they taste so much better.
That's how I know they're
because of that.
expensive. Okay, let's see.
Ferensky wants to know if Luther's made it back into his vehicle yet?
Or his house. You can't get into either.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the questions that were submitted beforehand.
Oh, because Luther couldn't get on. I understand.
Right.
Oh, so what are we giving away tonight, Megan? Have you figured that out?
A lot of stuff.
Leave enough time for that. We have to leave 5 minutes for all the giveaways. I may have to come up with some more. Awesome, you guys. Fantastic. And happy birthday, Erica. Wow. Well, you know what? Chris said that. He wanted to see more donations. And you know what? That speaks volumes. I've often said that if you're going to find an industry to work in the woodworking hobby industry. Number one, you have to have patience in order to woodwork. So if patience are one of your character traits, you're automatically above the road rage people. And number two, they're just the finest cut of people that I've ever dealt with. Well, I can count on one hand the number of honorary customers we've ever had, and that's over a period of 30 years of doing this. And we usually try to turn them around. So fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you to the vets out there who have the reason why we do this. And our thanks to you could never be fulfilled. It's just something we've got to constantly be doing and reminding you of how much we appreciate what you have done. Thank you. Frick, commercial.
Yeah, Mike Johnson in Tennessee.
Hi, Mike.
He says on jointers. No, that's not the one I was like, shoot.
Here, William Hart wants to know what's the narrowest jointer you would recommend?
Oh, that's a good question. So jointers come 4-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch, 12-inch, and 16. That would kind of be a norm. A 4-inch joiner really isn't much good good at all. 6-inch is probably the most common because joiners increase exponentially in price as you increase in width. I would suggest that if at all possible, get an 8-inch joiner. That's all we have in here. I've got a 16-inch in the other shop, but I can count on one hand the number of times I've used a 16-inch joiner in the last year. The 8-inch almost always takes care of whatever we need. So I would say an 8-inch would be ideal. A 6-inch would be somewhat distant second. And if a 4-inch was offered to me for free, I might not take it. It's just kind of, yeah. If you had nothing else, but go for the 8, and hopefully you'll get that. Next, Rick.
Okay, next one comes from Obi Bradshaw in Spokane, Washington. He says, is there any wood species...
Obi.
Yeah. Is there any wood species that you would not run through a joiner or planer?
Well, you get some woods that have high silica content in them. Jake and I, we did a video, a YouTube for this week on where is it? I'll show it to you. It's right here. So over here on the wall, hung crooked, is a wood hardness. I won't tell you which tone he hung it up. This ranks all of the woods. I don't know how many hundreds are on there, and it ranks them on their hardness scale.
According to region.
According to the region, right. And so I made this, I'll show it to you. I made this the other day. This is, who's this soft for?
Chris.
Chris? In the UK, yeah. It's king wood with some sap on it, beautiful stuff, but wow, is it hard. It was dulling. I would sharpen the chisel, and I know how to sharpen. I wouldn't get into it all, and it would take the edge off. And I would switch to a higher angle chisel, and it would take the edge off. So I came over here and we looked. Now, kingwood comes from South America.
Second row.
And kingwood is 330, 340, whatever that number is. Janka on the Janka scale. So in metal, we have the Rockwell test to determine hardness. And in wood, it's the Janka scale. Snakewood, which is like glass, is 3,800. And just to give you a reference, I'm going to come up to some American woods that you'd be familiar with. I'll find walnut, black walnut.
No, it's up.
Is
down a bit. Isn't that it right there in your
Oh,
finger?
the color's not very good. Yeah, black walnut. So black walnut is 1,000. Kingwood is 3,300. So 3 times. I don't know if the scale works that way, but it's at least 3 times harder, if not even harder. So it's really tough stuff. You get into any of the exotic. I can't think of any domestic hardwoods that you can't easily joint or plane. But when you get into some of the exotics, Now, you know, one exception to that would be desert ironwood. That stuff is hard. And if you're using steel knives, it's going to take the edge off. Carbide will handle it, but it's going to be tough on them. I was just curious. What's that one that South American wood? I tell you the story when we were teaching up in Ontario, and I used a set of mahogany. What was it? Ipe?
No.
Yeah, it was.
Brazilian. No, it was Brazilian Jatoba.
Jatoba. Yeah. Let's just look and see where that is.
I'm pretty sure it's in the high 2000s.
Really? Jatoba. There it is right there. Yeah, well, okay, so I thought Jatoba was hard. So if you compare Jatoba to Kingwood, Kingwood is 3340 and Jatoba is 2690. So I had no idea. I've worked with a little bit of Kingwood. I had no idea it was that hard. But it is, our expression would be harder than a bull turd. Hard. Next, Frick?
We're at a...
No.
Oh, yeah. Give me one last one, just for fun.
We got a bunch of giveaways here.
Yeah, I'm sorting the names.
Okay.
We will give you the donation total, though.
Yeah. I'm brace myself.
I want to give him one more minute to...
Okay, we've got a lot of giveaways, though, and you don't have enough stuff.
Yeah, we'll make up some more stuff.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Make up some more
Okay,
stuff.
well, I want to hear this number. So the old record was 11,000.
And we blew that away.
The new record is?
$17,280.
Wow. 17,280. And how many donors?
201.
201. That is awesome. I can't add anything to it. That's just, you people know why.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely amazing. So 17,000. So we got 17 to give away. All right, you ready, Frick? What?
Well, you planned for like 6 maybe.
Well, we'll do a whole lot more.
Start giving away your planes.
Good luck to Gina, who has to sort all this tomorrow.
Yeah, Monday. Okay, so what we've already established is we've got a block plane, we've got a router plane, we've got 2 mallets, we've got a marking gauge, we have, now these are seconds, but you'll be a hard time finding the flaw. We've got 2 saws.
One's bone, too.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What are the saws? So this is a bone resin regular handle crosscut saw. That's a joinery crosscut. This is a black bench crosscut. And what should we give away, Jake?
It's got to be new.
Huh?
It's got to be something new because we can't. You've got so many more things to give away. You can't start giving away stuff in your tool cabinet.
Yeah, I'll need
You'll
some of
run
these.
out of it.
I'll need some of this stuff. So we'll. Oh, you mean out of inventory?
Yeah.
Okay, Frick, you got numbers yet?
I'm ready.
Okay, start.
Oh,
Let's.
You know what?
What?
Why don't we give away that 604?
Oh,
we get 2 of them.
The 604? Wow,
Yeah.
that's a pretty big gift. I don't want to do that yet.
Well,
Okay, we'll give away. What are we going to give away? Think. Marking gauges. Everybody can use another marking gauge.
So the RC.
So
gauges.
we'll fill up. Yeah, with the RC marking gauges, we'll fill up the rest of the spots. So Frick, you start.
Okay.
The first thing we're going to give away is our traditional giveaway. We give away 3 Dead Cat sweaters, and you have the option of either the Purple Heart golf shirt, and if you don't win, patssecretgarden.com, get it from Moose. You can have your choice of either the golf shirt or the Dead Cat sweater. So do that first. Let's pick out 3 of those.
All right, your chances of winning tonight, 1 in 680. Here we go. First winner is Robert King in California.
Congratulations, Robert. Tell us the size and which one you want. Next.
Next up, Dale Scott in Amherstburg, Ontario.
Dale in Ontario. Congratulations. Tell us your size and which one you want. Next.
Next one is Levy Olive in Arizona.
Levy in Arizona. Congratulations. Tell us the size and which one you want. Okay, let's do the bench dog block plane. Comes in a
I'll keep track of the
sock
number.
too. What's that?
I'll keep track of
She's keeping track of what numbers
Oh,
giveaway.
okay. So the block plane first.
Oh, our good friend Sue B in Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Congratulations, Sue. The router plane next.
Router plane.
We did a review on this, and I was shocked. This. Did I not say it was every bit as good as the Lee Nelson?
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah.
Jason Bone in Michigan.
Hey, Jason, congratulations. We don't sell these. We just made a few. This is resin impregnated cherry mallet.
Winner of that is Rochelle. She didn't give her last name and not specifically where in Canada, but Rochelle in Canada.
Rochelle in Canada.
So she'll have to contact us.
You need to contact us. Next is another mallet.
Okay. Next mallet goes to Julian Cleek in Wales, United Kingdom.
Hey, Julian, congratulations. Marking gauge, RobCosman marking gauge, made by my son Rex.
Jim Richards in Springfield, Ohio.
Congratulations, Jim. Joinery crosscut saw, bone handle.
Bone handle joinery crosscut saw is going to Mike Enright in Columbus, Ohio.
Congratulations, Mike. Bench crosscut.
Bench crosscut is going to Jerry Frank in Newark, Delaware.
Hey, Jerry, congratulations. Another marking gauge. Should we go marking gauge mallet, marking gauge mallet?
Marking gauge is going to Michael Hankins in Michigan.
Michael, congratulations.
Yeah, we could.
Now we'll do one of our mallets. So this is going to be the regular mallet with the resin impregnated maple head.
Winner of that is Jimmy Sinowski in West Homestead.
What's his first name?
Jimmy.
Jimmy. Congratulations, Jim. Now back to a marking gauge.
Next marking gauge goes to Eric Smith in Michigan.
Eric, congratulations. Back to a mallet. Are you counting, Megan? What are we on?
That was 11.
Okay.
Next up, or whoever that prize was, that's Kurt Heller in Pennsylvania.
Kirk Heller.
Kurt, congratulations. Back to the mallet.
Mallet is going to Craig Corder in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. A lot of Michigan.
Craig, congratulations. Marking gauge.
Marking gauge is going to Lacey Nagy in Victoria, Australia.
Wow, Lacey down in Australia. Congratulations. Back to the mallet.
All right.
Resin impregnated maple.
Oh, look who it is. Chris Chehusky.
Oh, Chris? Congratulations, Chris. I'm sure you don't have one. Marking gauge.
Marking gauge is going to Robert Newcomb in Ontario.
Hey, Robert.
Last one.
Last but not least,
Mallet. Let's make this one. I've got a purple, a maple purple infused maple resin impregnated mallet. Really cool. We'll make it for the last one, number 17. It's in the other shop, or else I have. But it looks. This is the material.
all right.
Looks just like that, and it maintains its purple color. Really cool.
And the winner of
And that thing, by the way, is Sean Mahaffey, a friend of mine. That he supplies us with this stuff. Oh, there's one right there. That's what it looks like. Thanks, Sean. By the way, I did up a Turkish walnut. It was gorgeous. Go ahead. Sorry.
All right, the winner of that is Joseph Court in Michigan. Holy smokes, a lot of Michigan.
Hey, Joseph. Congratulations.
There it
Did
is.
we pop another one before while this is going? No, we're good. So, big thank you to Santa and Mrs. Claus. Appreciate it. Know what you're going through. We're behind you. Thank you. Big shout out to Jesse Paratus. I just texted with Jesse yesterday or today. It was awesome to see you on there. Absolutely fantastic. And I'm glad you're doing so well. All the vets, thank you. A heartfelt thank you. All of you civilians out there, anybody that's contributed or just watched, appreciate your support. What? Thank you to Jake. It's hard holding that camera for 2 hours. Thank you to Megan, who's pregnant, having a baby in November.
Don't worry, he has a wife who works that gets some benefits.
Big shout out to her mom and her 2 sisters who are recent EMTs. And they were at that scene assisting the big pileup in Utah just the last Sunday. 22 cars just outside of Kanosh, Utah, 8 fatalities. And wow, I mean, we deal with PTSD, and you don't have to be in the military to experience that. This happens in life of our first responders. So I wish we had the capacity to help those people as well. Somebody has to, because they need it. And thank you to Frick over there, who takes lots of abuse and keeps coming back for more. Big thank you to Super Dave, who we just sit here and hope he's going to comment on Saturday nights because it makes us laugh. And his wife for putting up with him.
You know, we might just have to fly him in and quarantine him just to keep him alive. Because Michelle is getting fed up.
Thank you to Luther. Big happy birthday to Erica. Luther works tirelessly and Erica lets him do it.
Hope you got in your house and car.
Yeah. Well, he sleeps outside. He's used to sleeping in the woods. Big thank you to Ken, and also to, as I already mentioned, to Al and Tony, who work here tirelessly.
And Lynn and Angie.
And oh, I forgot. My goodness. Angie, I got a new picture. That's Angie. She's Ken's cousin. She does all the packaging of her t-shirts. So show her some support and buy one of our Purple Heart t-shirts. There's 3 to choose from. She and her sister Lynn do all the packaging. It'll come to you. It's the most perfectly packaged item that we have in our store. Big thank you to Gina and Pam, who do all of our shipping. And they're going to have a big workload come Tuesday morning. And Jake is telling me to shut up and say goodnight. So happy birthday. Happy birthday to me. Thank you for making this the best birthday I've had in recent memory. It means a lot. Thank you, folks. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.